All right, so we're going to first start out with some introductions. I'm Heather Krentler, Chief People Officer, and we are here with Matt Thomas, owner and board member, Lynn Daly, Senior Vice President of Operations, Mary Taylor, our board chair, and Allison Pat, our CEO. Thank you. So just to get you warmed up, I'll start with some softballs, okay? And Allison, I'll cue you up first. Of all of the talent shows you've done in your family's history, which one would you be most appalled being on YouTube?
Wait, which one would I be most appalled?
If it were on YouTube.
Oh.
If everyone, and I'm pretending like I actually could share this, but I can't.
So I went through like a 13-year awkward phase. There are a lot of videos I would be embarrassed to put on YouTube during that phase, but there was one in particular that is coming to mind, and I did like a play the piano, go dance, then act like it was like a true trio kind of thing. It was like 13 glasses, braces, a perm, and it wasn't great. So I'd be pretty embarrassed for that one to end up on video. My husband has not seen that one yet. There is a video.
I think we speak for all of us that we wanted that photo up here earlier.
Next year.
Okay. All right, we're going to jump over. Matt, growing up, who did you want to be in terms of, I don't know if it was DC or Marvel, but any superhero, who did you want to be most?
I have put a lot of thought into that. Actually, over the years, as I've watched Marvel movies, I was never really a comic book kid, but certainly the Marvel movies as they've come out, I've really enjoyed watching. So I think I would want to be Batman.
Could you say it in the appropriate voice, please?
Batman.
I love it. All right, Mary, you're up. I happen to know that you are quite adventurous in your traveling. And have you ever traveled somewhere where you actually feared for your life?
In retrospect, perhaps, two come to mind. I'm a scuba diver, and when I was 40, I decided to go to 200 feet on my 40th birthday down in the Cayman Trench, to go down the Cayman Wall, which is, most recreational diving should be above 60 feet. 90 to 100 feet is kind of the limit. So I went down to 200 feet and had a dive watch that was controlling then how fast I could come up and what I had to do to take my stops so that I wouldn't explode. The dive watch malfunctioned at 200 feet and I had to come up, But it was fine. And the other one was when I was 19, I hitchhiked from California to Colorado to see my high school boyfriend. And in retrospect, had some rides with some pretty shaky characters.
Oh my goodness. I want to travel with you. All right, Lynn. One of the things I appreciate about you is your kind heart. We're going to turn that off. No.
That was me, and it shouldn't have been on.
And I'm just teasing. I'm not trying to hurt anybody's feelings. All right. One of the things that I appreciate about you is your kind heart. You give people a lot of grace. I would like you to share with us a time when you didn't. When were you meanest to someone?
Wow, that's a good one. Oh my gosh, I guess I'd probably have to think about what my family would think of me. I would probably say, well, let me just tell you. I'm going to tell you a little story about my daughter. My middle child has decided in her life that she creates her own holidays. She could find any excuse for a party at any moment, at any time. My husband says she doesn't fall too far from this tree, because I do like to celebrate too. But I would say she thought that I was very I don't know, maybe I'd call it unfair or unkind, was when I forgot Middle Child Day last year. And so, because I forgot Middle Child Day, it is now a reoccurring event on my calendar every year, so I will never forget again. And gifts are required.
All right, could we please have all of the middle children raise your hands so that Lynn can get you on her gift list? Perfect. I get all those.
Put it on my calendar.
Get ready. No, I'm going to not do all silly questions, really. Truly. Okay, so you've been employed by the company a long time, right? Or you've done it. What was your first role with us?
Correct.
How old were you, and what was your first role?
I was 23.
Okay.
It's a great story. I'm not sure if I want to share all of it, but what I'll tell you is that I came back from college looking for a job, and I talked to my dad and my mom. Actually, we were at dinner. I do remember this pretty vividly. I should also stop and say that my dad, for the longest time growing up, in high school was asking questions like, well, do you want to work in the company? And I'm like, I don't even know what I want to do tomorrow, so it's hard to answer that question. I came back from school with the idea that I wanted to work, I wanted to connect with the company, I wanted to connect with my dad. I asked if there were any opportunities in the company, and he just flatly, without hesitation, said no. And I was like, whoa, okay. And my mom kind of turned and looked at him like, what the hell are you doing, Thad? And I sat there for a second, kind of stunned by it, and I was like, okay, well, I guess then I'll see you around. And I got up and I left the table because I was hurt by how that kind of went down. I understand it now and looking back, but the next day we talked, and we had an honest conversation about what was going on in the company, and I expressed to him why I wanted to come back. And so I got a job as a vending manager. That was my first role in the company. That was a piece of business that we really didn't run very well, and I got involved in that and started learning about that, and from that just kind of kept being curious about how the company operates. And then as part of just working hard and being curious, got other opportunities. So that's kind of how it started.
That's awesome. Sort of that organic unfolding of your journey here. All right, Allison, we're going to hand it over to you. Obviously, very intelligent and competent, but you weren't always in every job. So I would like you...
Wow! Okay, what's the question?
Some of these things had to be learned. Go back in time, early jobs. What job were you terrible at, and how did it help you become successful?
So I think that the job, it was one of my early jobs was cleaning Sylvan Learning Center. I don't know if anyone knows of it. Okay, so I cleaned Sylvan Learning Center in our local town. I knew the center director, and so when I was in high school, it paid pretty well. So you had to go in and basically deep clean the center when nobody was there. So it's like an empty office, basically. This brings to mind, I also did a small stint with Jessica's team in the EBS department, and I didn't do great. So I think I didn't learn what I should have. I wasn't great. She kept having to come back and be like, yeah, but no, you have to get this little spot behind the toilet, Or you can't just spray it and wipe it, which is something I learned in Denver. You don't spray and wipe. You put the rag in the disinfectant before you wipe something. I learned a lot of lessons from Jessica and her team. And so I think I lacked the training to do that job well, and it required a lot of really detail level work. I wanted to kind of delegate. I wanted to talk about the broader perspective of how we were going to clean. That wasn't the job. So what I did learn is slow it down, get a lot of training, and I relearned it with Jessica in Denver. So I appreciate it. My house is much cleaner because of you.
We're going to hand it over to you. So for those of us who aren't familiar with boards and how they work and what a board chair does, could you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in boards and what your role as board chair is?
Sure. got involved in the board, I'll start with that. So I worked with Thad Thomas for 2.5 years at Saga Corporation in the healthcare division. And we became friends in and outside of work. And my husband, Greg, and Thad's wife, Lynn, and Thad and I would go skiing together. I met Jesse and Jody one morning when they were 4 in their pajamas at home. We stopped by Thad's house. I was staying in a hotel, and we stopped by Thad's house to pick up some materials for a meeting he was having that day. I don't think I met Matt till he was older. I think you were off to school by the time. But we remained friends over the years. Thad was one of the best people I know about keeping connections to people, and whenever he came to the Bay Area, he would come to dinner at our house or call up and say, let's meet somewhere. My husband Greg and I, or sometimes I'd meet him for breakfast before work or something. And in 2014, when he was thinking about forming a board, he invited me to come on, so I joined the board in 2015, where it really got formulated. Thomas, as a private company, doesn't have to have a board. I'm sure most of you know that. Public companies are required to have boards. So, Thomas decided to have a board to make things perhaps more professional, more documented. What does the board chair do? And then I'll circle back a little bit on that. Really nothing. I mean, in a public board, the board chair has a lot of duties beyond just being a board member. Technically, the board chair is supposed to be the person who pounds the gavel, but we don't actually have a gavel, which is great, tries to keep us on task and on time without inhibiting conversation, but we all kind of do that. And Allison's very good about that. She has a very well laid out agenda, and we have great time for discussion. So I think, what happens as a board member is obviously the board is quite small. Since its existence, it's varied between 4 and 5 board members. So Allison and Matt are board members. They would be decision makers in Thomas Cuisine, no matter whether they were on the board or not, in their roles as owner and CEO. I think what the outside board members hopefully can bring is different life experiences that are a little step away from the day-to-day of the business, and hopefully different perspectives, and can just ask questions that maybe help the management team make better decisions and maybe avoid some risks. And my other outside board member colleague, Mark, is excellent at doing that, and we have some very good conversations. We're typically generally very aligned as board members, but sometimes someone has a sort of what if question that makes us all think about it in a little deeper context.
My next question's for Lynn. Lynn, you spent the early part of your career at Aramark. What drew you to Thomas Cuisine, and what has kept you here?
Oh my gosh. So I did. I had worked for Aramark and another one of the big 3 prior to my time with Thomas Cuisine. And my family and I went, let me just tell you. So I went back to school and I got my MBA. And all through that time, I was deciding, what am I going to do when I grow up? And for some reason, I thought deep down I needed to try something different. Well, that wasn't the case. What I found with my time with Aramark, I had left the company and moved to Missoula, is I didn't want to go back to that. And so the reason I thought I needed to do something different is because it just didn't feel right to me. And I wanted to do something where I had a voice. And I wanted to do something where I felt like I was a contributor and that I was a part of something bigger. And I feel so blessed because, ironically, after moving to Missoula, there was an opportunity with this wonderful company called Thomas Cuisine, and I thought, what the heck? It's a smaller company, maybe it's going to be different. And I'll tell you, from day one, it has been. I've been with this company for over 13 years, and I can never, and this is truly deeply meaningful to me, is that I can't see myself ever doing anything else. I can't see myself working for a company that could ever be better than the experience I have with this one. And the reason is there's been opportunity. I have been given opportunity to learn, to prove myself, to be challenged, and then also, I think at the end of the day, it's to feel a part of a family that we're all involved with together. So that's what it means to me, and I'll never go back.
All right, so this one's just a toss out to all of you. It says, this is my first annual meeting. I didn't have any real expectations coming in, but collectively, you've all been to quite a few. What is the number one thing you look for? You thought it was going to be a naughty question. I saw everyone got a little tense. They're like, oh, what's she going to ask? What is the thing you look forward to most? Anyone? I'm looking right at you.
I look forward to all of you. I mean, honest to God, it is fun. It's a way, and like I told you, part of my family is every time you can celebrate, do it, right? It's our opportunity to thank each other, be around each other, meet each other. And so, honestly, that's what it is for me. I always take a little nugget back that inspires me to just continue to do greater things. So that's what I always like as a takeaway.
I'll just piggyback on that. You know, for me, so often we sit at a desk or we're behind the counter or behind whatever setting you're in. I think we kind of get in our own little world and we kind of get stuck in our own perspectives. When we all come together, there's something about it that reminds me why we do what we do. You all remind me about what's really happening, who we're really serving, what the daily joys look like and the challenges. I just leave really inspired, and it offers me incredibly important context to go back and make decisions because, frankly, this is the group that we're here to serve. And so, for me, it's truly inspiration.
Thank you. Does anyone else have something to share?
I think with the exception of maybe a couple, I've been maybe to as many as anybody in here. Hal Hersley's been to many more than I have, actually, maybe not that many. You know, for me, it's this. I've seen this company grow up. I've grown up in this company, so it's been an evolution for me. Inside of that, my role has also changed, so it's a bit different today than it was, you know, initially. I think initially, as I mentioned, I was 23, so at that time it was really like, hey, let's, you know, have fun. Let's go have some drinks. That was a way for me to get to connect with people in the field that I didn't at that time interact with. So that was good for me, and as it has evolved, I think getting to just see what we're doing and hearing from, you know, the rest of the company and where our locations are at and how we're doing and our best practices as they've come back to the corporate office and talking through those things. And I was just mentioning to you, actually, this meeting has evolved also where we see these breakout sessions now. We didn't always do that. I did mention to you also just about some of the activities that we would do, and you know, that thinking back for me was always fun. Hal, I know you for sure remember, but we were in Sun Valley. I think my first meeting was playing a game of softball. That was like super fun and very exciting to get to just have that camaraderie, to be able then to go have a drink and just kind of connect and hang out. So. But now it's different, and I, you know, for me, it's just so heartwarming, honestly, and I'm so proud to be involved with the organization in a way where, you know, this energy, the camaraderie, I'm so proud of this organization, and for me now, that's one of my biggest takeaways. And when I go home at night, I'm gushing to my wife about just how, I think, awesome this place is, how awesome our people are, and really the good stuff that we're doing. It's just very exciting. So.
Mary, how about you?
Well, I'll answer in a minute, but first I want to say that I'm pissed off since this is your first meeting and you got down to 2 cents. I got down to 13 cents and I was feeling pretty smug that I had managed my card. And then I hear this rookie is down to 2 cents. But no, I would say in one word, it's the vibe. As Allison kind of talked about this morning, there is no success without celebration. And to come together and celebrate and meet new people and just feel the energy, sends me back into the world and hopefully all of you back into the world, really energized to, do new things and recommit to maybe thanking your team members more than you ordinarily have time to do, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the exciting part. I've always said that, and I've been in the food service or the restaurant business most of my life, and, I've always said there's a lot easier ways to make money. You have to love it. You have to love it to do it, and this helps reconnect us with that passion of loving the business, and it's exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Allison, you shared some refined and additionally defined values with all of us today, and I would love for you to share which of all of it's like picking a favorite child, but which of all of those, which one really speaks to your heart? Which one do you just really love?
Well, I think it depends on the day because I've answered this differently depending on when I'm asked the question. But, lately the one that's really been resonating for me is integrity. And we talk a lot about it in new manager orientation. I often ask our group what resonates, and that's one that a lot of us connect on. Who was it that came up and we did what did we call that? What was it called? What was it called? Be Real. And there's something about that. I've never heard of Be Real. If you want to know, come up front and we can tell you about how to take real photos. But what I appreciate about that sentiment is very little feels real anymore in the world. Right? Like everything is kind of shined up on social media or packaged in such a way in the grocery store. And I just think what I loved about this company from the first time I talked with the board and the leadership team and the field was this is a bunch of people who are willing to be real with each other, who really are willing to be open and say, I'm struggling with this. How do you handle it? Or, gosh, this is really where I want to go. This is what I'm striving for. The fact that we're willing to be transparent with our customers, and frankly, that so many people in this room, no matter the context, you are the same person. You show up the same way. You take care of people even when nobody's looking. To me, that's really been resonating lately and seems pretty connected to our mission. And just for me, frankly, makes me excited about the people I work alongside.
Lynn, similar in the spirit of values, but you have grown a lot in your career here at Thomas Cuisine, and I think you're a woman of character. As you think about all of the bright minds in this room who have really exciting journeys ahead in each of their careers and the ways that they're going to grow and emerge as leaders, what characteristics, and you can have more than one, I just gave her the hard question, what characteristics do you think makes someone ripe for growth and leadership at Thomas Cuisine?
Oh my gosh, there's so many, but I think I'm going to just talk about the first one that came to my mind the minute you said it, and that is humility. I think in order to really be able to strive for who you want to be, you have to have the willingness to learn from others, and I think that you have to have the willingness to say, I don't know, can you share more about that with me? I think those who try to believe that they know everything certainly are missing out on opportunity to learn from each other. So I'd say first and foremost, And I'm not sure this is a characteristic, but it's something that I would share with everybody. If they ever asked me, at least from my story, I always tell my kids, and I tell anybody that asks me, that you have to have a story to tell. And when I say that, I mean, seize an opportunity. If you're given an opportunity to be a part of something great, or to learn something new, or to pilot something pretty incredible, without having any other tangible benefit, even if it's compensation, if you can just truly say, I'm going to seize this opportunity and see the value, that's a characteristic that I like to hear. And I'm going to just mimic what Heather always says, and that is you have to be humble, you have to have heart, and you have to be hungry for it. And so that always resonated from the moment you said that to me. So anyhow.
All right. I'm going to turn over to Matt for a beat. As we think about values and we think about, Lynn, could you grab that? I hope everyone in here has been to new manager orientation. If not, please make it a priority to do so. But in new manager orientation, everyone gets the opportunity to understand your dad's legacy. And, a lot of people in this room have been blessed to have known him personally and to witness his leadership firsthand, but many of us haven't. And yet, what you share in new manager orientation resonates with us. Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I'm the wrong person to ask, I guess. I would ask you that question, Heather.
Throwing it back.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, so for those of you, I recognize there's some managers here that have never heard my part in new manager orientation. Those are the same people that probably knew my dad and worked with him in the organization. So you probably get some of what I try to give in the new manager piece that I talk about. But I mean, he was a guy who was very straightforward, transparent, honest. Integrity was paramount. I don't know. There's a genuineness in that that I think resonates. But again, I would ask you if that's true.
That's not my role in this. No, I will answer that, but I had a leader who asked me many years ago, not at this company, said they were approaching a shift in terms of their own leadership, and they said, how do I make sure that what I built continues? How do I make sure that who I am continues when I'm not here? And I said, well, maybe this is if you don't know me, I speak in analogies most of the time. And I said, well, you need to be like a virus to a degree. And I said, and you need to, number one, only recruit people whose values naturally align with your own. You can't change that. So start with values that are completely in alignment with yours, and then infect as many people with your enthusiasm and your vision as you possibly can, and they will carry the torch. And so I think that what I see, and part of what attracted me to Thomas Cuisine, is that very thing. I see a lot of people who when you saw those values up today, you didn't acquire those throughout your time at Thomas Cuisine. You weren't taught those in new manager orientation. You weren't, your managers weren't being like, hey, told you we're working on humility today, which maybe they do, but you came into this company, you were attracted to this company because there was a values alignment. And it's incumbent upon all of us to constantly remind ourselves and each other that is our baseline, and that is our North Star. All right. So I'm going to throw another one out to all of you. So whoever wants to answer this can kick us off. And if you want to have a hall pass and turn your chair around and face the back of the room, you may do so. We have experienced major upheaval in our industry and the economy over the last 20 years. Okay, so we had the economic downturn of the 2000s. We've gone through global pandemic together and any number of societal and political disruptions. Why have we succeeded throughout all of that? What makes us special when a lot of other soldiers and competitors have fallen?
This is one thing that I That's a good question. I've thought about that. And it goes back to my dad, our founder. And this isn't the only reason, so this is just a reason I think has made it easier for us, not only to withstand some of those pressures and challenges in the general economy or even in our industry, but we have been a privately held company that has stayed out of debt. That is a big deal. And we probably don't talk about that as much as we should, but that is a big deal. And I'm sure you understand why, but without that pressure, we've been able to navigate those things in a different way than organizations who were leveraged, right? Those pressures are real, and I think when they become so, when that pressure becomes so much, you begin to erode the things that got you or were part of your success. And I think what I've witnessed and seen is that a lot of our competitors had to cut staff. They had to dilute their service offerings. They had to kind of be shady about how they went about business. Because we weren't in debt and didn't have those pressures, we didn't have to even consider those things. Not that we would even have, but it's a different conversation on how we're going to get through those issues relative to perhaps other organizations and the conversations they were having at the highest level. So that's just one thing I could say.
Kind of a piggyback on that, I think it has to do with what we're now calling smart growth, but have really been exhibiting for a number of years, and that is choosing our partners, not clients. Our competitors tend to view them as clients. Choosing them on the basis of what we can add to them and looking for partners that want our value proposition, don't just necessarily want the lowest cost competitor. So by our very choice of partners, we were fused in the relationship beyond the dollars and cents of it, which helped us weather the storm where our competitors could not. Because it's all about the Benjamins to the big three, you know.
I think a couple of things, and I think one, again, to tag on just to being a privately held, somewhat smaller company, is that we definitely were nimble and had the ability to pull different levers and pivot a little bit differently than our competitors did. And I also truly believe that this group is so passionate and resilient, and just nothing was going to get in our way. So I think a lot of it, too, has to do with our mindset and our willingness to break down barriers and figure it out. That's what I think.
I'm not sure I could add anything to that. I think that was so beautifully said. Yeah.
Could you do a little tap dance?
I'm working on it, Mary. I'm working on it.
Well, then I'll kick off a group question with you, then you can start us out. Growth requires scalability, right? And one of the most challenging things that I've witnessed businesses go through is scaling culture. It's a lot easier to scale structures, systems, but culture is tougher to scale. As you think about our culture, what do you want to most fiercely protect?
Oh, that is a good one. To me, there is this thing that is hard to put your arms around, but I'm going to call it genuine care that I've never seen like here, ever. The way, even just walking down this little walkway here, the way you joke with one another, the way you care for one another. Many of you don't work in the same locations, and yesterday ran right up to each other and gave each other hugs. You've been deep friends for so long. There is just this genuine, deep care, and I see it from how the board interacts with the leadership team, how the leadership team interacts with our teams. Like, I see it all the way around, and how we treat our customers and our partners. That genuine care, putting people first, not just seeing people as a means to the end, That's really unique. And I saw this business, I entered the business during COVID, a time when every business was looking at how many bodies they had. That term bodies was being used all over. You know, what kind of reduction in force were we going to do? And here I heard none of that. I heard this deep care for how do we make sure that our people are cared for in a very uncertain time? How do we make sure we're putting enough resource towards our people? I think that level of genuine care, as we grow, I'm sure it will look different. We will have to continue to evolve what that means. But I think I just want to protect that so deeply because I believe it's why many of us are here. We don't feel like we're just a number on a payroll sheet. We really are genuinely cared for.
Lynn, I'm going to have you kick us off with this one, but anyone can jump in. Hearing the vision again today and the mission and hearing from all of the people here together today, I'm very excited about tomorrow. I'm very excited about the years ahead. As you look at the future for the company, what are you most excited about?
I am most excited. Well, one, I'm a dietitian by background, and so the idea of food being powerful to our health and our future has always been of utmost importance to me. And so what I really love is I love that now, and we're using the term movement, it's not just about preparing beautiful meals. It's really about changing the lives of others and really, in a sense, kind of changing the world, you know. And so that the part of our new movement of educating and advocating, that's really exciting for me and really looking forward to how that kind of lands for all of us.
Thank you, Mary.
Kind of piggybacking on that, what is so exciting to me is that I think societal forces are catching up with us. More and more people are understanding that food matters, and they're demanding what we call real food in a way that I haven't seen. And it's funny, and I digress. Flying out here yesterday, I was reading an article that was written by a friend of mine, and it was about the amount of plastics that we as humans ingest. And, you know, as you probably know, 80% of the plastics end up in the ocean, in one part of the ocean, the Great Pacific glob out there. But all the fish around the world, mollusks, you know, sharks, are found to have painfully noticeable substances of plastic in them, which we eat. Apparently, the average American eats 50,000 microparticles of plastic every year and gets 50,000 more from breathing the air. And I'm thinking about this and just reading this and reading that many of the freshwater fish have been, discontinued because they had so much plastic in their system. I come here, and now we have this wonderful presentation by people who have fish that are pure and not filled with plastic. And it's just that there are more partners out there for us. There's more vendors out there for us. There's more people advocating. There's more thought leadership. And so we're not having to push that rock uphill all alone anymore. Others are helping to push. And I'm not saying we're out of the woods, because there's still a long way to go. But I just see it as a real inflection point where society is catching up to that. And that, to me, is thrilling.
All right. I'm going to ask one more question, and then I'd like to turn it over to all of you to ask some questions of our panels. I would love to know, what is one thing you would like everyone here to leave annual meeting having gained?
Well, I'll start because I'm on the end. I hope every single person leaves with 5 new people that you can call. because I do believe that there is incredible people all across here. And I've gotten to see a lot of you in action, but not everybody knows what everybody else is up to. And I believe that there is power in sharing what you're going through, sharing the new things that you're seeing, best practices, exciting things that you're launching. I would hope everybody walks away with 5 new friends that you can call, because there is real power in this team, and I hope it's not just sitting here and sitting with people you know. I really believe that there's a community here that you can tap into, and it's powerful and it's amazing. So 5 new people.
We're trying to pass the mic. I would want everyone to leave here with, I always call it a little nugget of information, but like one inspiring nugget, but I want you to take it back to your teams. I don't want you to go back to your units and keep it all to yourself. I want you to share something super cool that you discovered here at this annual meeting, whether it was just you were enlightened that you met 5 new amazing people that you can call and you can share that with your team that, hey, we're not alone, we've got people out there, or if it's something that you saw in one of the breakout sessions, bring it back and share it. So don't be selfish, share it with everyone.
It's very simple, just a renewed energy for what we do and who we do it with, and just a sense of community, you know, that we're all working to do the same thing, just in different areas with different, you know, customers, so.
I would just say a recommitment to the notion of volunteered teamwork, because I think that's something that plays out at the unit level. It plays out at the corporate level and, you know, hopefully even at the board level. But the impact of that is so important. It's absolutely essential, and it's something that is relatively easy to do, and it just earns you a whole lot of street cred with your team, but also, you know, makes them love you. You know, I can't overstress that phrase.
On a more serious note, I want you all to leave with a piece of fruit. So if you could, please.
Or a basket, yes.
Yeah, or the whole basket. Yeah, it's here for you. Yeah, we're good. All right, so I think we have some mics in the audience. Are there any questions that you'd like to ask our panel while we bring our time together? Is there anyone?
Keith has got one.
Oh, Mr. Thomas, we worked together for a number of years. What's the thing that you miss most being in operations, and what is that you love most being on the board?
I'm just going to repeat the question for those that didn't hear.
good.
What does Matt miss most about being in operations? I thought he was going to say, what does he miss most about me? What does he miss most about being in operations, and what does Matt most enjoy about being on the board?
Thank you, Keith, for the question. So actually, one of the most memorable moments I've had a lot of memorable moments in operations. Working on projects took me across a lot of the business. I mean, working with you guys down in Salt Lake, Pat, Keith. I mean, there are so many groups that I got to interact with that really was fun for me. I remember one of the last openings I was at Benefice in Great Falls, and I just, at that opening, for whatever reason, there was a lot of us there because that was a big opening. Just feeling like, at least for me, it was almost like directing traffic, and I know that there were so many different groups that were responsible for different parts of that opening, but it was fun for me to have staff that we were inheriting from that transition with questions like deer in headlights like they normally do, but being able to go, you need to go talk with this person, you need to go over here, and just being able to kind of work that out was fun for me. That was one of the more rewarding openings that I've been to. And then now as a board member, I mean, my orientation's always been a bigger picture person. So for me, this really does allow for a lot of that. And being able to still have connection to the company and what we're doing and how we're doing. But thinking more like a year, 2, 3, 5 years, strategic thinking, like that is really what gets me excited about what this company can be. And I'll go back to a question prior. I mean, you guys, the future of this company has never been so bright. And I say that because I've seen where we've come from. I've watched what we have done, but I am more convinced now than ever with the changes that we have had, although maybe painful, maybe a bit unsettling, were changes that are going to make us even better as an organization. The leadership has never been more in alignment about what we're doing. And I think as my spot on the board and my preview to that, I mean, I can tell you without hesitation, we are going to do great things. And I've never been more convinced of that. So my role as a board member, I think, affords me that preview, and that's what I've been most enjoying about my role today, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you all. And now you are free to enjoy what remnants of your break